and welcome back. Today we're getting into something pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
The return of retro mini consoles. You know the ones, right? Those tiny versions of the classic system.
Oh, yeah, the little guys.
Exactly. The ones maybe we grew up with or, heard the legends about.
Definitely. And we've been looking into why these little blasts from the past have become such a big deal all of a sudden.
Right.
So think of this chat as, I guess, your quick guide to the whole mini console thing. We'll get into why they're so popular, the clever ways they've been marketed, and their overall impact.
Sounds good. Because it feels like it's more than just playing old games,
It really is. There's something bigger going on.
Okay, so let's start there. What's the main driver behind this retro comeback? I mean, nostalgia is the obvious answer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Nostalgia is like the big one. But it's not just, oh, I like that old thing. It's deeper. It's that warm, fuzzy feeling, tied to actual memories.
Specific ones, you mean?
Totally specific. For loads of people, seeing these minis is like, boom, you're back in your childhood living room.
Yeah.
You remember blowing on the cartridges, hoping it would work.
Oh, God, yes, the universal fix.
Right. Or that pure joy when you finally beat a really hard level, or just, hanging out with friends, passing the controller around.
The simpler times.
Exactly. These mini consoles, they kind of offer a shortcut back to those specific cherished moments. It's amazing how a little plastic box can do that.
It really is. And, something else I think plays into it is just how simple those games were. Compared to today, anyway.
Oh, for sure. There's a definite appeal in that simplicity.
Those pixel graphics, the super catchy music.
Leaps and boops you can't forget.
Right, and just straightforward gameplay.
Yeah.
Like pure fun without needing, a 10-hour tutorial.
Mm-hmm. No massive open worlds to get lost in immediately. It's just jump in and play. It's refreshing, almost like a palate cleanser from some modern games.
That's a good way to put it, a palate cleanser.
And, what's interesting about that simplicity is that it often wasn't just a choice. It was, a necessity back then.
Because of the tech limitations.
Exactly. Developers had serious technical limits to work within. But that constraint, it actually, it pushed creativity.
Right, you had to be clever.
Super clever.
Yeah.
They came up with really unique gameplay ideas, ingenious design tricks, things that made those games stand out.
So each console wasn't just hardware, it was like a cultural moment.
Precisely. They're like time capsules. Each one represents a specific point in gaming history, a certain style of innovation. They have their own identity, their own libraries of just iconic games that mean a lot to people.
Okay, so nostalgia, definitely a huge factor. Simplicity, the creativity born from limits.
Yeah.
What else helped these mini consoles become such a phenomenon? It can't only be looking back, can it?
No, you're absolutely right. It's a mix of things that kind of came together perfectly. Marketing, for instance, played a massive part.
Okay.
Well, the companies were really smart about it. They tapped directly into those nostalgic feelings you mentioned.
With the ads and stuff.
Yeah, the ads, the packaging design, that often looks exactly like the old boxes.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
It's all designed to hit that memory trigger for people who remember the originals. Very evocative, very targeted.
And it works. You see the box, and you're instantly transported. Plus, let's talk price. That's got to be a big one.
Huge. Absolutely huge.
Trying to get original consoles and games now in decent shape, it can cost a fortune. Collectors' prices are wild.
Right. These mini versions are just so much more affordable, so much more accessible.
So it's not just for the hardcore collectors, then?
Not at all. That's the beauty of it. It appeals to them, sure, but also to, casual players who are just curious. People who maybe heard about these classic games but never played them.
Lowers the barrier to entry, basically.
Massively, yeah. Makes it easy for anyone to dip their toes into gaming history, even, younger generations.
And then there's just how easy they are. Technically easy.
Oh, the convenience factor. Don't underestimate that.
No more fiddling with weird AV cables or trying to make it look good on a giant HD TV.
Nope. Plug and play. That's the mantra. HDMI, straight into your modern TV, power it up, and you're good to go.
It's brilliant.
It really is. No complex setup, no hunting for adapters. It's just streamlined retro gaming for today. They even managed to make the controllers feel right while using modern USB connections.
Yeah, the controller feel is key. And also, the fact that they come preloaded with games, like a curated list.
Your greatest hits approach.
Exactly. That's so convenient. You don't have to track down 50 different expensive cartridges or discs.
Right. It avoids that whole other potentially expensive and frankly time-consuming rabbit hole of collecting individual games. And the curation itself is interesting, isn't it? Thinking about which games make the cut.
Yeah, how do they choose?
It seems to be a mix, usually. You get the absolute blockbusters everyone knows, maybe some critically acclaimed games that were influential, and sometimes a few deeper cuts for the real fans.
Like a little museum exhibit for that console.
That's a great way to think about it, yeah. A prepackaged highlights reel.
So, okay, the market just exploded with these things. Which ones really stand out? Which ones made the biggest waves?
Well, you almost have to start with the NES Classic Edition, Nintendo 2016.
Right, that was the one that started it all, wasn't it?
Pretty much kicked the door down, yeah. It just proved beyond a doubt that there was this massive, untapped hunger for this kind of retro experience.
I remember trying to find one. They were like gold dust.
Absolutely insane demand.
Yeah.
Like everyone, maybe even Nintendo, a bit by surprise, I think.
And then they followed up with the SNES Classic, right, which was also huge.
Massive. Another home run. Fantastic library on that one, too, just packed with beloved 16-bit games.
So Nintendo really nailed it. What about the others?
Well, Sega definitely jumped in with a Sega Genesis Mini or Mega Drive Mini, depending on where you are. Exactly. They really leaned into that 16-bit arcade feel, you know? Fast action, memorable characters. And people generally felt they did a really good job with the emulation quality and the game selection, too, including some interesting choices.
Okay. And Sony, they did one too, didn't they?
They did, the PlayStation Classic. That one had, let's say, a more mixed reception.
Oh, why is that?
Some criticism about the specific game choices, and the emulation quality wasn't universally praised for every title. But, I mean, it still offered that nostalgia hit for people who grew up with the original PlayStation, the dawn of mainstream 3D gaming.
Right. Important milestone.
Definitely. And it shows that even if they aren't all perfect, they still tap into that core desire. Oh, and then you had more niche ones like the TurboGrafx 6T Mini.
Oh, yeah. That was a bit more obscure, right?
Yeah, more for the hardcore retro fans. But it's cool because it brought back a really unique console with a diverse library, including games maybe not everyone knew.
So it sounds like these little machines have done more than just, make money selling old games. What's the bigger impact here?
Yeah, looking at the wider picture, the effect has been pretty interesting. Like, one thing is it seems to have genuinely inspired some new game development.
Oh, games. Oh,
Developers creating brand new titles, but deliberately using that retro look and feel.
Yeah.
Pixel art, classic gameplay mechanics. It shows those styles still have real appeal.
Huh. So the past is influencing the present. Literally.
Kind of, yeah. It's like a feedback loop. And beyond new games, this whole retro buzz has definitely boosted demand for other retro stuff, too.
Like what?
Re-releases of classic games on, Switch Online or PlayStation Plus. Tons of retro merchandise.
T-shirts, posters.
All that stuff. And even things like documentaries and books about gaming history. The mini consoles kind of act as a gateway for a lot of people.
That makes sense. And thinking about it, they're also kind of preserving history, aren't they?
That's a really important point, actually, by making these games so easy to access again.
For people who never played them originally.
Exactly. For younger generations, or just anyone curious, it stops these important cultural artifacts from just fading away or only being accessible to dedicated collectors with original hardware.
So they're like playable archives.
In a way, yeah. Digital archives that make the history of gaming much more approachable. Helps you understand how we got to the games we have today.
And what about the community aspect? It feels like retro gaming has a really passionate fan base.
Oh, definitely. And these consoles have probably helped fuel that. You see loads of online groups, forums, YouTube channels, even real-world events.
People sharing memories, tips.
Yeah, connecting over that shared nostalgia and passion, it builds a really strong sense of community around these classics.
So wrapping this up, it really does seem like this whole retro mini console trend taps into something pretty fundamental. Our connection to the past, maybe? The simple joy of play.
I think so. It's fascinating how these tiny little boxes can trigger such strong emotions, bring back vivid memories.
And even shape what games look like today.
Absolutely. Just shows the enduring power of these games and the emotional connection we can form with them.
Well, this has been a really fun exploration into why we're all plugging these little retro boxes into our TVs again.
It has, yeah. Lots to think about.
Definitely. So for you listening out there, here's something to chew on. What classic game or maybe console sparks the most nostalgia for you? And why do you think it still clicks, still resonates after all this time? Give that some thought. We'd love to know what you reckon, and we'll catch you next time for another look into something interesting.